How y'all doing today? I'm from Pennsylvania, but I figured if Kamala Harris can come down here and change her accent, I can change my greeting, even though I'm from Pennsylvania. So, my name is Guy Berkebile, and I have the extraordinary opportunity of working with Job Creators Network over the past 8 years. The small but mighty team at Job Creators Network is incredible, and they have provided me with the tools and support necessary to be a strong advocate for not only my company, but for the millions of small businesses across the country. Job Creators Network is truly a small business megaphone. To provide a brief background on me, I'm the founder of Guy Chemical Company, a chemical manufacturer in rural Somerset County, Pennsylvania, that specializes in the manufacture of adhesives and sealants for the consumer and industrial markets. I grew the business to more than 220 employees, ranging from unskilled laborers to product managers to chemists and engineers. And if Small Business Administration Secretary Kelly Loeffler is still in the room, my company was the 2013 Small Business Exporter of the Year. Founded in 1995, I took out a loan of $70,000, used $80,000 of my personal savings, and mortgaged my home to start Guy Chemical, literally putting my family's financial future at risk. I had no employees for 8 months, operated the business at a financial loss for about 2.5 years. I didn't take a salary for 5 years because paying my employees was always, necessary before I paid myself. And I worked a full-time job on the side in order to provide for my family. In the end, I mortgaged my house a total of 7 times over the first 15 years of our business in order to finance the company's growth. But even though my entrance into entrepreneurship was precarious at times, the outcome has truly been spectacular. I get to go to a job I love every day and see our amazing employees who at this point are more like family. You hear all the time how small businesses are the heartbeat of communities across the country, providing economic opportunities so folks can raise families and enjoy their own slice of the American dream. This could not be more true than in our little corner of Pennsylvania. I want to make sure other budding entrepreneurs have the same opportunities I did to follow their own passions and start a business so this pattern can play out for the next generation. That's why I was so excited to be first introduced to Job Creators Network in 2015. They have a track record of driving rural policy changes around taxes and government regulations that paved the way to more small business ownership. At the time, the big battle unfolding was around passing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It's not too dissimilar from what is happening on Capitol Hill this year. I, along with hundreds of other small business owners, were tapped to share our perspectives on tax cuts, mainly how the tax cuts would benefit our businesses and employees, creating a strong economy full of opportunity. I was skeptical at first. Don't get me wrong, I thought a tax cut was a good policy that would help small businesses like mine, but I questioned how my individual story and perspective would be of value in the debate. Boy, was I mistaken. My story, along with hundreds of other JCN helped to share, became the driving force in getting the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act over the finish line. As a matter of fact, it was Bernie Marcus that mentioned my name and my company to President Trump whenever President Trump was looking for a business owner who took his savings from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and invested it in his employees and in his business. We needed to make the case that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was not a policy being pushed from Washington, but was a grassroots movement that was bubbling up from main streets across America. The Tax Cuts Now campaign, as it was called, was a whirlwind. For months, we worked with Job Creators Network's communications team to draft and publish op-eds in newspapers across the country sharing how the tax cuts would drive business growth and expansion. JCN got small business owners like me on television, on the radio, and some of us gave speeches at events that were a part of a nationwide bus tour. The campaign culminated at a big rally on the steps of the IRS in Washington, D.C., and in December of that year, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was signed into law by President Trump, who has said, without Job Creators Network, we wouldn't have gotten a tremendous tax cut that made our economy roar. After the law's implementation, I even had the opportunity to speak at an event at the White House along President Trump marking the tax cuts anniversary. I also testified before Congress to explain how the policy had a big positive impact on my business and my employees. All this is to emphasize the important role the Job Creators Network plays in giving small business owners like me a megaphone to be our best advocate. That is the power of the Job Creators Network Small Business Advocate Program. Oftentimes, the messenger is as important as the message, and when small business owners are the messenger, we win. In the current political environment, the small business voice is more important than ever. With President Trump back in the White House, the country has a golden opportunity to reform government policies with small business as a focus. Extending and expanding the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act before it expires at the end of the year is a prime example. But amplifying the voices of small business owners takes time, energy, and resources. The JCN Small Business Advocate Program needs support from folks like you and me to keep it going. So please take some time while you're in Savannah to consider becoming a Job Creators Network small business advocate yourself. Making your voice part of our voice amplifies both of our voices. That way, small businesses will continue to have a prominent seat at the policy-making table. Thank you.